Hello, everybody. Welcome to Drones Vodcast. Another wonderful episode, and I've got a very, very interesting person and project today. How are you doing there?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah,
And
I'm Lester Haines, head of Special Projects Bureau at IT website The Register, and I'm here to talk about our low orbit helium assisted navigator project, otherwise known as LOHAN.
okay.
Yeah, okay. So what do you want to know? Tell me what you want to know, and I'll explain it to you.
Oh, no.
No, you have to do some of the work, Christian. Come on.
I have to do something to work, and that's the truth. Now, when did this whole project begin? When was the cutting moment where you woke up one morning and decided, let's do a LOHAN? Or what was it called previously?
Well, it was always called LOHAN, this project, but the whole thing came from our paper aircraft released into space project, which is the Guinness World Record holding highest launch of a paper plane. And actually, there's the plane right there, the famous plane that plummeted to Earth from 23,000 meters a few years back. So we did that, and of course that was born in the pub, as all the best ideas are. And after we got the Guinness World Record, we were sitting around twiddling our thumbs. Obviously, we're in the pub again, and we thought, oh, why don't we 3D print an aircraft, put a rocket motor in it, and launch that from, whatever, 20, 30,000 meters. How difficult can it be?
How difficult indeed. Now, this previous plane was also with a helium balloon, and it was just popped in the atmosphere, and it just glided down, right?
Yeah, no, we had a release mechanism for it. So yeah, big balloon, up you go, helium, release mechanism, plane falls to Earth. Simple. This time around, exactly the same principle, except rocket motor launch at a predetermined altitude, which is classified at the moment. Plane thunders through the sky, Pixel Autopilot takes over, it glides back to Earth where we're all waiting, sitting having a beer. Simple as that.
Now, if you're going to enable this rocket, is it going to be an upwards direction or just a level direction?
No, it's going to be 20 degrees from vertical. That's to avoid the balloon hitting the balloon, which would be a really bad idea. And then it goes up, and then at apogee or whatever, the Pixel cuts in, sees where it is, has a look, flies back to the ground. Simple. I wish it were that simple, but that's the basic principle of the operation.
Now the wingspan of the previous one, it looks like 2 meters about?
No, it's smaller than that. I think it's about 90 centimeters. Small thing. The new plane's wingspan is 115. I can't show you the plane, the rear of it, because it's too big, but I can show you the front section, which is this magnificent...
the infamous front section with no plumb.
Absolutely packed with stuff here. And as you can see, it's a canard design.
Yeah.
Canard, and we've got a Pixhawk, usual stuff, servos, etc. Motor, seat for our pilot here. All the usual stuff, batteries and whatever, airspeed sensor. It's a bit difficult to see, but that's
no, we can see perfectly, yeah.
That's the front part of it, and there's a whole other bit which is the back bit with the wings and God knows what, and the other bit.
What will the wingspan be of this plane?
This is 115 centimeter wingspan. So you can, if you try and imagine the scale in relation to that.
To the back.
Yeah. I mean, if it was standing on the ground, it would be about this height now, if I was standing up. So it's quite a big thing.
Now I'm looking at your post where you're holding this one with a English flag painted on it.
Yeah, of course.
It's quite a big wingspan. Nice. Now this design, why did you choose this design over all else designs. I see the first one was a very design that everybody knows, the design that you can
Oh,
probably buy at a
standard, yeah.
hobby shop or something. But now you go for this extraordinary design with two sets of wings, front and
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Well, it was simple. We got in touch with some people at Southampton University and a team of aeronautical engineering postgraduate students volunteered to design the plane. And we said, you could do whatever you want. And this is what they came up with. And we just thought, that is fantastic. That looks like a Klingon bird of prey. We'll have that. But suffice it to say, frivolous as that may sound, a lot of work went into this design. I mean, these guys really know their business. So obviously they designed it specifically for rocket-powered operations and then to glide back to Earth. So, you know, hopefully that's exactly what will happen.
Okay. Now, you say rocket power. What thrust are we looking at for this rocket, and how long will this rocket be firing? What will the fuel? How much fuel will you be carrying versus how much thrust you will be allowing the rocket to pull?
Well,
meaning.
Okay, so the rocket itself is an off-the-shelf Cesaroni 54mm 3-grain white long-burn motor. I think the thrust, I'm supposed to know it in kilograms, but I don't. It's the total thrust over 8.5 seconds is 220 pounds. So that is that's a hell of a boot up the backside.
And how much fuel will you be carrying to?
I think I can't remember what it's APCP. It's ammonium perchlorate composite propellant, and it's about 800 grams, I think, of propellant. So, and that, like I say, that takes 8 seconds to burn. 8 seconds is an awfully long time for a rocket motor that big. So it's going to be spectacular, if nothing else.
I just converted it quickly. It's 100 kilograms of thrust.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah. That'll do the job. That'll be fine.
You can pick me up for a second or what? Now, what is your current flying weight? What will your current flying weight be?
The total weight is 2.5 kilograms. I think that the entire thing. That's without the reload. But the reload is not an issue really, because that burns, and that's in a basically, as I said, a more or less straight up rocket configuration. It's nothing more than a rocket with wings at that stage. So yeah, overall it's about between 2.2 and 2.5 kilograms altogether.
Okay. And then now Gary wanted me to ask you a question, and when he asked me the servos, wouldn't be under a lot of stress being on that small surface area, like having a brownout on the servos?
Yeah, we're actually looking at that at the moment. We've had a couple of problems with the servos, so we might upgrade them a little bit to get something a bit more robust. We've used what the designers specified, and they've got experience in these things, we assume, but we're actually looking into it because especially the canard servos are going to be under an awful lot of strain. So we're actually examining that among the 437 other things that we have to think about at the same time. I mean, it is rocket science after all, so.
It's rocket science after all.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to do tests, what kind of tests do you do in the field? Let's begin by the beginning. You know, what do you do?
Well, I'll give you an example of how complicated it's been, because I can't go through all the tests that we've done on all the different things. But it's actually very difficult to get a rocket motor to light at altitude. So we have spent 2 years on and off attempting to get similar composition rocket motors to light. We've built a miniature hyperbaric chamber to suck the air out. We've tested them with dry ice packed around to simulate the temperature, -50, -40, whatever. And you know, we've just tried loads of different sorts of igniter mixes, and it's just actually it's been a nightmare. Of the whole project, that has been the most difficult thing. But we do think we've cracked it now. But you know, it shows you the kind of process you have to go through, the methodical, trying to work everything out bit by bit. And the same thing applies to every other piece of the aircraft. Everything you have to do tests, and it's still ongoing now. We're getting there slowly. We're almost there, we think.
Okay. Now, if you go out to the field and you lift off your thing, what do you do first? Do a return to launch? Do a speed test? Check how far? Do you do a mission, or do you see how high you can get with the current, or just what do you do? What's your everyday basic testing first when it comes to
Well,
flight?
well, the problem is we cannot test this aircraft on the ground with the rocket motor. So we've got test flight things pending. That's basically a lot of it's to do with the stall speed, which we need to know. What we can't do is we cannot test this on the ground with the rocket motor, a launch like a ground rocket launch,
Yeah.
because it'll simply rip the wings off. Because obviously there's a lot more atmosphere on the ground than there is at altitude. This plane is designed only to be launched at that altitude. If we tried it on the ground, the part of the nose would be left and the wings would be in pieces all over the place. Great video, but not exactly ideal.
Okay. Now, if you test it on the ground, what do you use? Do you just use a normal pusher prop, put the pusher prop motor on it, catch it in the air?
Yeah, we do. Well, we haven't tried it yet, but we do actually have a motor and a pusher prop retrofit thing, which is exactly what we're just trying to work out how to launch it. We're going to need some form of catapult to get it up to speed. So, but yeah, that would be the thing. Take the rocket motor casing out of the rear, stick a lipo in, a motor and a pusher prop, and that's the kind of
stays the aerodynamics and
sure.
and the workings of it. Oh no, awesome. Now the Pixhawk. Have you what issues have you come with this form of plane and the Pixhawk? Have you had any issues? Any positives? Any negatives? What's the tell about?
Well, it's pretty simple. We've had no problem getting the basic setup. The challenge we've got, and this is where developer Andrew Tridgell and some other people have been helping out, is for this mission we have specific parameters which are going to have to be coded in. What we can't have, obviously, is it'll take an hour and a half for the plane to get up to launch altitude. What we can't have is we cannot have the plane, operating the servos and stuff. There's got to be a sort of ascent mode. Then how do we trigger the Pixhawk to then say, right, I've got to turn myself on now and get my act together? So there are parameters about, do you say altitude X, then the Pixhawk says, oh, I'm falling, so I've launched. So there are various parameters that have got to be done. But with the Pixhawk itself, to date, we haven't had any problem. It's fairly simple. We've got more work to do, like I say. Andrew Tridgell, some other people have been really, really helpful, and going to get some custom parameters programmed in, and we should be okay.
Oh, wonderful. Now the big question, and
no.
What is the cost so far for this project? I mean, you've added so much, and you probably added a couple of bodies, I've seen on the web a couple of servers, and what is the cost?
Well, I mean, obviously the register's paying for it, which is very decent of them. The basic costs, the register is paying for it, and but we've got loads of volunteers as well who've put in a huge amount of time, and I've personally done a load of work on it in my own time. You can't put a cost on that, but I don't know. We've probably spent so far. Remember, this is over 4 years and testing. Yeah. We've probably spent €20,000 on it, which sounds like an outrageous amount of money, but for what we've actually done and how far we've got it, I don't consider it
human
excessive.
Hours as well. It has to be going. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus people's time, for which we are immensely grateful.
Now I'm checking here on this team photo. Tell me a bit about your team. Drew Collin. Is it Drew Collin?
Drew Cullen's actually an old mate of mine, and he's from the register, and he was along to have a look at how we were doing, cast his critical eye. And who else have we got there? We got
Rob Eastwood.
Rob Eastwood is one of the rocket motor guys. He's a pyrotechnics expert. And then we've got Paul Shacks, who is our rocket man. He's a level 2 cert holder. So he's the man who actually does the handling of the motor and the igniter and stuff. And then we've got Dave Akerman and Anthony Stirk, who are the guys who do all the they're HAB experts, actually high altitude ballooning experts, but they also do have electronics like this is a sneak preview. We've got a Raspberry Pi on board the plane, which we use a standard off-the-shelf Pi cam connected to the Pi to grab video and pictures. But they have got, this is going to be released soon. It's called the Pi in the Sky board. It's a dedicated HAB board which piggybacks onto the Pi and transmits. It's got a radio transmitter, and that's what we use to transmit images live from the plane. So, and it also records, because we haven't got the bandwidth to transmit video, but it records video and it records high def pictures, and then so that's what those guys do. That's their field of expertise, and of course that's just a small part of the team who happened to be there at the time when we were doing a test flight, and we've got loads of other people who've been shipping stuff in. So big team, international.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Now I'm now going to, you're connecting the Raspberry Pi via the Pixhawk with the USB to TTL UART. Okay.
Yes, please don't mention that.
Why?
I'm here dealing with this at the moment, and I spent a day early this week and trying to do it, and I'm going to put my hands up here. I'm no expert, and it tells, because I spent. Everything should work, but it's not. Andrew Tridgell told me, "Don't worry, I'll deal with it." And thank God for that, because I just had to get up, walk out, and have a stiff drink outside. So, but yeah, exactly. What we're going to do is we connect the Pi to the Pixhawk, as you just described. We've got this gadget, and they talk to each other, and that enables us to program the Pixhawk via the Pi. So that's exciting. I know other people have been. I see on DIY drones other people have been doing stuff like this. So it's not unknown. It's not unknown territory, but it is for me. So I'm leaving that to people who know more about it than I do.
Now, actually, when I saw you using it back in, it was probably 4 months ago when you posted it. I said, oh, I've got to get it, and I actually went out and I bought it too. Also did, but I never got to the chance to actually implement it. Because it was just these stuff drones there was a blog post about this guy implementing full HD transmitting, where he communicated with the Pixhawk, and this current just skyrocketed. And I said, no, it wasn't the Pixhawk, it was the APM, and it's just skyrocketed where he passed the telemetry to the and it was such a wonderful post, and I said, okay, I've got to buy this, or I've got to buy that, and I saw your little USB to, and I said, I've got to buy this, and everything's just going to work, and now you...
No, it's not. No, it's not, trust me. Or not at least if I'm doing it, so don't ask me to help you, seriously. No, it'll be fine. It's just a matter of debugging something in the, on the Pi, and it's just a connection thing. So it will work because other people have made it work. So we're confident that's going to happen.
Yeah. And now the other thing is now the 3DR transmitter radios. Have you decided on what antennas you're going to use?
No, I don't.
The most range.
Well, no, we're thinking of swapping over to I don't know what it's called, but Andrew Tridgell, there's a long-range radio.
Oh, the RDF 900.
Correct, and we're thinking we're gonna swap over to that. We're just using the standard out of the box, 3DR radio at the moment. We're gonna swap over to that one, but I'm actually in Spain. I can't test it here because I'm not allowed to use it. So we're gonna swap that out. And we'll have to talk to people about actually using it here. But yeah, that's what we've decided to do, because that way we can actually control the thing from the ground if necessary. So that's an interesting prospect.
Yeah. Now I saw what's our other member? Mike Geek Show. He had a whole episode on those radios, and he first had the 3D audio, and then you had the RDF 900, and it was such a huge difference. So
yeah,
going over to that, I think.
No, it's fascinating. It's great kit. It's great kit. We haven't actually got it yet. We're waiting on one. So, but that doesn't affect the other work we're doing. That's that's something we could deal with. It's just about swapping the radio. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic thing. If we could have a look at the mission planner, we could watch the plane from the ground, and whatever tweaks could be made, or the possibilities are there to have more control over the mission. So I'm looking forward to seeing that working.
Okay. Now, do you guys have deadlines? Do you set yourself deadlines, or you just catch it as it goes?
Yeah, we've had a couple of deadlines, and the people at the register are very keen on deadlines, and I don't blame them because they're paying for it. But we've had various, you always get issues, and it's never been as easy as we think. But we have got a deadline that we have got to launch this by October, come what may, because it's just gone on too long. There comes a point where you say, right, we've got to push the button. So that's hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll be in the air shortly.
Now, you said earlier your body of the plane is 3D printed.
Yeah.
What material are you keen on using? Is it ABS, PLA, or something else?
Well, it's nylon 12, I think, is what it's called.
Nylon 12.
Yeah, because
what temperature does that melt at?
Oh, God knows. I don't know what it melts at, but. The outside, I know what you're thinking. The outside of the rocket case gets to about 110 degrees C, we think, and that's below. We actually did think of this, and it's not going to melt the rear of the plane. Let me put it that way. I mean, more importantly, to be honest, is can the material stand the cold? And the answer is yes, it can. Yes, it can. So, just as well, really.
How did you come about this material? Why not the everyday use of materials like PLA or ABS that everybody's using?
Well,
why this material?
Well, we used obviously we had to use a professional 3D printing firm, and that's what they use. And they said they actually had a relationship with the designers already. They'd done another 3D plane, 3D printed plane, Southampton University. So they said, yeah, that's what you need to use. And obviously the plane is quite large, and you need a printer that can handle large volume printing. And so they were the people for the job. And the materials decision was between the printers and the designers. And there comes a point where you do have to trust people. And I have every confidence in their decision. And don't quote me on that later, please, if the wings freeze off.
Now, this is one post of you guys that found me very, very interesting. It's this bracket you built from the servo to the arm. Is it the servo, or is this? Let me just open the post here.
Intriguing.
It's on the front there where the pilot sits, on the right-hand side. You took a picture and you had this.
Yeah. Well, is it the servo horn that connects the servo?
Yes. It's your own little design.
No, there's no design involved in that. That's one of those round servo horns with the bits cut off it, so that that's all that is. You know the thing I mean.
No,
and we've just. I think. Hang on. Let me have a look. Are you referring to this item here?
Yes.
That's just one of those round plastic servo horns, lovingly crafted into a custom shape using a hacksaw. So. Nothing high tech about that.
Just give me 2 seconds here.
So sometimes you see there is a place for hacksaws, and
and hammers and stuff.
We're very, very fond of these as well. These are fantastic. This is what you need. It's kind of the antidote to the programming guys talking about pies and pixels, and I just go grab a beer and fondle my pliers lovingly. So there you go.
I think I've got my tools here.
Good man. Oh yeah, X. No, those are side cutters. Remember, this is a controversial area, but good men nonetheless.
Yeah. Now the simulation. I see your. How's this going with the simulation? Asking for people to create a simulation relationship with the X-plane.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was just a suggestion. We're not. Excuse me. We're not entirely convinced how much use it will be in real terms, but we are. But you know, it's useful to have, and we like to get the readers involved if we possibly can. And a lot of the ideas on the project have come from the readers. You know, we have a problem, we put it to the readers, they come up with ideas. There's loads of debate, and as it should be. You know, we like to be involved with our readers on these things. And they, you know, some of the ideas they've come up with have been tremendous. So, very, very useful.
Okay, so that's very well. Now I'm checking here the balloon post that you had, where you did some balloon bursts.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I always do is now I've seen this on YouTube a couple of times. When you're up there with 50,000 meters and the thing explodes.
Yeah.
How do you find it again? Where it falls?
Well, yeah, you just have a tracker. I mean, obviously, whatever payload you're using has to have some form of tracker. We have a couple of custom-made, very, very small Actually, I've got one here. Hold on. Hold on a second. Excuse me. That is one of our trackers. It's called a Parva tracker. It's one of Anthony Stirk's. It's difficult. Well, it's so small, it's difficult to see. And that's got a little transmitter on it and a GPS, and that's how you find your stuff afterwards. Our plane's got one of those, and also the launch structure will have one, and various other things. And you just hone it in on it by radio. You know, your radio's pretty straightforward business. Yeah.
How many balloons have we sent up now?
How many balloons? We've done, specifically for LOHAN, we've done 7 test flights. And Dave Akerman and Anthony, who are the real experts, I don't know, they must have done 50, 60, more between them on various different projects that they've done. So, but for LOHAN, so far, we've done 7 test flights, various things, rocket motor, igniter board, you know, various camera tests and the rest of it.
Okay. Now, what is the biggest problem you found with these balloons?
The danger with balloons is premature burst. It only has to be slightly faulty, and it will burst prematurely. So, I mean, I'm sure people will know that our pilot is our heroic and plucky Playmonaut.
There's the infamous plucky Playmonaut.
Yeah. So, well, last year the poor guy. We had a premature balloon burst. We were doing a test flight in Spain, and he had to spend the night up in the mountains because the thing came down. It just banged, and down it came. There's no way of foreseeing it. We managed to find the payload at dusk using a antenna and the tracker on board, but he had to stay the night in the mountains. Bless him, because we couldn't get up there in time. So that is the problem. It's going to happen. You have to accept it. It's always better to buy more expensive balloons. There are cheaper ones, there are more expensive ones, but there's always the danger they're going to burst prematurely. You just have to take that on board.
Have you guys explored the possibility of maybe installing a parachute system
on the plane?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we did think of it initially, but then we thought, no, we'll just have this thing come into land. I mean, it's probably better. I mean, the thing has no undercarriage or anything, so it would probably be better for the plane itself if it came down by a parachute, but in the end, I mean, we're talking the bulk of the parachute, just the sheer space it takes up, the extra weight. Then you've got some form of mechanism to deploy the parachute, and it's just we've got enough to worry about with that. This thing is just going to have to come in. This thing is just going to have to come into land no matter what. And we trust our plane. We trust our Playmonaut not to break it too much. So
he's going through vigorous training.
Very well. He's been through the mill a few times already. So he's already been up to 30,000 meters twice, I think, and 23,000 meters once. So he's got a bit of experience. We leave it to him.
Now, the balloons. I don't know anything about the balloons. I just find it very, very interesting. Is there different kinds of balloons one can use, or is there only one sort that will take you that high?
Well, I mean, it's just a meteorological balloon. They're latex. They come in various sizes, and depending on what you're going to lift and how much lifting gas you're going to put into them, and that's basically all you can use. Apart, yeah, unless you get into the big scale like the Felix Baumgartner thing, where they use a very thin film, but those things are absolutely enormous. So we're talking they're rated in weights, the balloon. So you start, you've got very lightweight, 500 gram, 1,000 gram, they go up to 3,000 gram, 3 kilogram balloon, and those are for lifting obviously bigger weights. And the more you want to lift, the more gas you put in, and that's the way that works.
And the gas just plain helium.
We use helium. We have to now because it's called the Low Orbit Helium Assisted Navigator Project.
Yeah, obviously.
So if I know people have got objections to helium, but if we used hydrogen, now that would be a bit of a downer on the name. So we'd get pulled up on that. But, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've got one word for people who keep banging on about hydrogen: Hindenburg. That's all I'm prepared to say on the matter. And,
big
that's
boom.
the way
So, okay, I'm looking here at some of your other posts. Here's a topic you said: keep things toasty in the stratosphere. Is that?
Yeah, that's a rocket. We've got the rocket motor has got a heater. It's one of those space grade foil heaters. One thing that can't happen is the rocket motor cannot get cold, because we know that the reload, the propellant, will not fire if it gets cold, and we've tested this, so we know. So what we've done is we've wrapped a heater running off a 12 volt 11 point whatever it is LiPo round the heater to keep it warm. We test flew that a few months back, and that works a treat. That was a total success. So we're confident that the motor is not going to get cold, which is one thing ticked off the very long list.
That's awesome. So we need to keep it above -5 degrees Celsius if possible. Okay,
yeah,
so it's also not a big. It's not a big. It's a gap you have to bridge. -5 is alright,
Yeah,
you get it from -50 to -5.
Yeah, no. Simple as that. Well, the interesting thing is there is actually some interesting science involved here, because if you plug it in on the ground, the heater will only raise the temperature of the rocket motor casing 5 degrees C above ambient.
Yes.
But of course, which would be useless at -50, because then it would be -45. However, because there's no atmosphere up there, the heat's got nowhere to go. And so it actually, on the test, I can't remember, but it actually raised it between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius above ambient, because it's trying to overheat. There's nowhere for the heat to go. So that it doesn't melt down, we've got a simple €5 aquarium thermostat attached with a thermocouple thing to monitor the temperature. If it gets above 70 degrees C, I think it is, the thermostat cuts the power off. And I'll tell you what, it works a treat. The whole thing, I think the heater was about €30. The thermostat was €5. Sorted. Totally sorted, that one.
No need to spend millions on basic technology.
Not at all. Just let science do the work for you. It's just not a very powerful heater, but when there's nowhere for the heat to go, it will just keep on heating up and heating up and heating up.
It's like the one story I heard. I don't know what's the truth behind it, but there's one space agency. They spent millions designing a pen to be able to draw in space.
Oh, that's the famous one. Yeah. That's the fun. The Russians used a pencil. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's apocryphal or not, but however, there is a lot to be said for the what they call the KISS principle, and we do try and adhere to that. It's too easy. It's called mission creep, and you just start adding little bits on, and wouldn't it be nice, and things start getting complicated. You should always look for the simple solution, always, if there is one, because otherwise you'll end up
stupid, yeah.
keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. Otherwise you end up, it just gets so complicated. It's such a headache. So if possible, we do try and keep it simple.
Oh no, that's awesome. Now, what's the next? What's the next stage? What's the next step in your project?
Well, where we're at right now is we're just about ready to do as I said, the custom parameters for the Pixhawk. We got some tuning, fine tweaking to do on that. We need to get the Raspberry Pi and the Pi in the Skyboard connected to the Pixhawk, get them talking, and I think really, more or less, that's about it. The launch structure still needs some work. The fantastical flying truss, which people can find on the website. But that's coming together. That's pretty well done. Test a few cameras, put the whole thing together, weigh the whole thing to see what balloon and how much gas we're going to need to lift it, and then get on with it, because the time is now, really.
No, we will all be following you religiously, and we wish you all of the best. And is there anything you would like to say to our community?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thanks very much. All I want to say really is I've just got to give big up respect, as we say, to all the people who have helped us out for nothing, which I think we couldn't have done it without those people, and the readers, and the DIY drones community who've chipped in, saying, yeah, we want to help and stuff. So, well, thanks very much, and here's hoping we can all share the glory on the day.
Now we will speak again afterwards. Then we'll listen to what was the ups, what was the downs, what was the success, what was the failures.
Sure. Well, if we're not all in prison as a result of the flight, we'd be happy to talk.
No, awesome. Well, thank you very much, and then we will see you on the blogs.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.